Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into one of the absolute most critical parts of any tech venture, how you build your dream team. It's a journey every single leader takes, and trust me, the decisions you make here, they're everything.
So let's just imagine for a second, you've got it, the billion-dollar idea. It's crystal clear in your head. But now what? How do you actually bring that thing to life? That's the real puzzle, isn't it? Because it turns out the massive gap between a brilliant concept and a company that actually dominates the market, it almost always comes down to one thing: your team. And this isn't just some HR checklist. Nope. It is a core strategic activity that can literally make or break your entire company. Okay, so let's start this story right where every company begins. Picture it. You've got just a few people huddled in a room, probably fueled by way too much coffee and this one incredible shared vision. This is what we call the founding stage. You've probably got, 1 to 5 developers, and they are all generalists. Everybody does a little bit of everything, the roles are totally fluid, communication is just yelling across the room, and there is one single-minded goal: ship a product. Just get something out the door and secure that first round of funding. It's pure, beautiful chaos. But the second you get that product out or that first check hits the bank, you're at a huge crossroads. How in the world do you scale from here? Well, the answer starts with finding your North Star, which is your core competency.
So what is a core competency? Look, it's the special magic of your company. It's that thing you do that nobody else can. It's what gives your customers a real benefit, something you can use across different products, and, this is the key, it's incredibly hard for your competitors to copy. It is your secret sauce.
So this is where you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Every single task in your company falls into one of two buckets. On one side, you have your core tasks. This is your unique IP, your secret sauce. You build this in-house with your absolute best people, no exceptions. Everything else, that's a commodity. Think of things like payroll or basic IT support. They're important, sure, but they don't give you a competitive edge. So for those, you either buy a solution or you outsource it.
And really, this whole philosophy boils down to one powerful idea. If a capability is not a core competency, then the task can be safely outsourced or purchased. This sentence should become your mantra. It is the filter you need to run every single resourcing decision through, from here on out.
So once you've made that critical separation, core versus commodity, you've suddenly got this whole toolkit of options for how to get all the work done. Right, you've identified your secret sauce. You know exactly what you need to protect and build with your own team. But what about everything else? All the other stuff you need to run the business and actually ship a product. Let's break down those options. And here's your cheat sheet for those big trade-offs. If you choose to build with your own employees, yeah, you get maximum control, which is great, but it's usually the slowest and most expensive way to go. Offshoring can speed things up and save some money, but you give up some of that control. Now, on the buy side, using open source is super fast and cheap, but you don't really own anything. And at the far end of the spectrum is acquisition. You get the capability instantly, but it's going to cost you a fortune.
Now, choosing to build with a distributed team, that is not a silver bullet. You can't just hire people all over the world and hope for the best. To succeed, you have to be really deliberate. You've got to create one unified culture where everyone feels equally valued no matter where they are. You need consistent tools and processes, and it all starts with amazing onboarding. If you skip this stuff, you're not building a team, you're just renting developers.
So how does this all play out over time? Well, as your company grows, your team structure can't just stay the same. It has to evolve. And it turns out that evolution happens in some very predictable stages. We can pretty much map this journey across 4 key stages, and they're usually tied to how many developers you have. You start with that tiny founding crew, then you get that first big round of funding, you ship your version 1.0, and then eventually you become a mature company. And each stage demands a totally different kind of team. It all begins back in the founding stage, right? That small, scrappy team of generalists where everybody does a bit of everything, all focused on just creating something from nothing. But then stage 2 hits after you get funding. And this is a huge shift. For the very first time, specialization starts to kick in. You hire your first dedicated product manager, maybe some QA engineers. Formal roles start to appear. Then, once your product is actually out in the wild with a real customer base, you hit stage 3, and this changes everything. You suddenly need a formal management structure. You need a dedicated team for sustaining engineering, just to keep the lights on and support your users. And finally, you mature. You've made it. Your organization is now way more layered, more hierarchical. You have these deeply specialized teams for things like security, performance, and release engineering. All this stuff you absolutely need to manage complexity at scale.
So, after this whole whirlwind journey from a tiny startup to a mature organization, what's the playbook? What are the principles you need to remember for the long haul?
Okay, let's just boil it all down. First, know what makes you unique, your core competency, and protect it like your life depends on it. Second, use that build versus buy framework to be ruthless about what you do in-house. Third, be intentional about evolving your team structure as you grow. Don't just let it happen. And most importantly, make absolutely sure your best people are focused only on the things that make you you. At the end of the day, your team isn't just a line item on a budget. It's your single greatest competitive advantage. It's your ace in the hole. So the question I want to leave you with is this: are you building your team to win?